Welcome everybody. It's Simon, or Simon, as I've been corrected in the past, and Josh. Welcome to Time Zones and Time Meters. We're going to be chatting today about some live music that we've recently seen. So Simon's fresh off a bit of a festival, and me, I've had a few bands come to Australia, so I sort of took advantage and I've seen a few in the last week and a bit. So let's go. How are you, bud? You good? Doing all right?
Yeah, I'm good. Waking up in the morning. I figured you've seen, I think, the last time in total five bands, and I've seen four. Uh,
It's got to be something like that, yeah. So, I mean, it
So
depends on
so
if you include all the support acts and this sort of stuff, but yeah, that's right.
yeah,
For
yeah,
me,
exactly.
it's
Yeah, so maybe you go first, because then you don't have to
yeah,
do as many after each other.
yeah, sure, easy. So probably the best place to start for me would be, well, let's start with the Closure in Moscow and the Deer Hunter sort of they did a joint thing together. So yeah, Closure in Moscow were probably the one to talk about first. They were really good. The lead singer was super energetic. He was quite a personality. He's rocking around in boxer shorts and one of those traditional, like Moscow fluffy covered hat things, whatever those things are called. And he's wearing a Pokemon shirt and like is off like doing all sorts of things. So he's got a bit of attitude. They're really funky, quite creative when it comes to like their song designs and stuff too. They're definitely high energy and not everyone's cup of tea.
It sounds super random. It sounds like my first show that I did with my band.
Oh yeah.
I had football shoes on. I had like uh, what do you call it? Those shiny pants, that is l- it's not leather, but it's the other thing.
Oh, like no, I know exactly what you're talking about. It'll come
Yeah.
to me. It'll come to me.
Uh,
Yeah.
and I had LARP friends, so I had like one of those, with little rings, the what you the mithril, Sorry, I'm ruining your. I thought I would
No,
just
no,
quickly.
go with it. Keep going. I'm trying to get an image of this.
You know what
Oh,
Frodo wears?
Mithril from Lord of the
Mithril.
Rings.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah. Okay,
yeah.
I'm with you. I'm
So I
with you.
had, so I had that, and yeah, I don't know, sunglasses, like just random shit, which was supposed to provide a stage show. I thought was fun. But yeah, so I mean, with a Russian hat and a Pokemon shirt and underwear, yeah, it's the same ball game.
Yeah,
I love
yeah.
it.
So that's the kind of energy that he brings. The thing that I love about the band and what they do really well, which was quite cool, was just their timing was just so tight because they do lots of like pauses where like there's just silence, and so they'll be like and straight back into it, and like just like how well they did that is crazy. Like if they don't have like some form of an earpiece in that's sort of telling them exactly when to do it, then these guys are really, really good like that. So it just makes for a sort of fun, really energetic, cool show. So that's the second time I've seen them now, and I definitely thought they were better this time than the last time. Like they seemed a little bit sort of tighter and sort of on, but they were again the headlining act too. So yeah, but they're good. Definitely, maybe check them out. I spoke a little bit about them in a previous episode about sort of what they're like and what albums to recommend. But live, they're pretty good. They're a lot of fun. And for those of you who might love that kind of thing, then definitely check them out if you get a chance to see them. Who did you want to talk about next? I'll come back to the Deer Hunter
Well,
later.
yeah, so I went to a festival called Midwinter Prog Festival, and there were several acts. The first act was actually ILO, which I would, originally wasn't really planning on seeing because it's not really my band. Or, well, let me put it like this: I didn't enjoy their debut album,
Right.
but I just to be sure, like one day ahead of it, I I checked out their new album and I thought, well, this is not half bad at all. So I thought, okay, I will try to make it so I will see ILO because they were the first band as well. being the chaotic person that I am, and like this was my, weekend off where I did not have to plan too much. I of course fucked it up, so I didn't make it in time to see ILO. So I cannot report
Oh,
on ILO. Terribly sorry about that. But so the first band that I did see was Green Carnation, and it of course was kind of cool that they did play their new album, Shores of Melancholia, which we of course have listened a bunch to because we made an album analysis of it. Super tight also, and it's funny when you see a bunch of bands like that after each other. There's like quite a big range within the prog aspect. How different these bands are. And this is, you also see when you see Green Carnation live, you realize that it's way more complex than you actually think when you listen to it. It is actually quite proggy. They have a lot of intricacies. What was further special here is that they played some songs live they hadn't played before, such as uh, "The Slave That You Are."
oh yeah,
Uh,
yep.
so you know, he did the growling stuff as well.
What was the lead singer's sort of vocals like? Like, was he on
The,
point? Was he
he was on point, like he did it very good. But you have some stuff that went out of his range, and then he
right?
does not quite hit the notes. Like his voice sounds fantastic,
Hmm.
and but there he did not quite hit the notes. So like if it was more of within his comfort zone, it would have been perfect. And also same thing here. I kind of wish that he would have had someone who really pulls out the grunting stuff. That would be even better. I mean, that said, like those are the down like instrumentalists. They cannot be blamed for anything. It was that was like perfectly executed, um, and they also did a little bit with building out an intro here or there or an outro. Further, it was kind of straightforward. Yeah, I was pleased with it. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, awesome. Especially after we checked out that album and did the album review, I
yeah,
was quite
yeah,
I was quite interested when I saw they were joining that lineup. I thought that's cool.
yeah. And they
So,
also played the new single, Singui,
do you mean from the
what is it called?
second act that's
Yeah, from the
coming out
coming
soon?
from the coming album. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
cool. Yeah, nice. That's
So yeah, that was the first artist of the evening.
it's a pity you missed Tyler
And
because I
that
would
one I
have
saw in.
no continue. That's fine.
Yeah, I heard it was great. I heard they were great.
Right. The no yeah, that's right, from everybody. It's like that was the show you missed or something. Look, I'm super curious
Yeah,
to hear
yeah, yeah,
somebody who's seen ILO live because I'm very curious myself too about the band. Like I really loved last year's album, of course, and I thought it was much better than their one previously. Because that one did take a while to sort of gel for me. So that'd be cool to check it out. But you didn't do it, so you lose 5 points, Simon. You could have had five extra. Probably worth like talking about the second actor being the Deer Hunter. They were fantastic. They were the support act for Closure in Moscow, but they were the real reason I went. No offense to Closure in Moscow, they're great, but I haven't seen the Deer Hunter before, and obviously they've got a few albums that I absolutely love, and so being able to really like listen to them to see how they perform live was really cool. Look, the man, they didn't do anything wrong. There was nothing. Like you couldn't really say that there was anything that was sort of out of place. They played a variety of different stuff. They played one or two, or maybe even three tracks from the Act series, but they also did a few from Anti-My, obviously leading up to their release, which I think might happen later this year or maybe next year. They've obviously got some stuff going in the process that they hinted at that are going to be coming out soon, so that's cool. But just as far as the live stuff was concerned, it was, I don't know, it was a real clinic. Like they did such a good job. The lead vocalist was just sensational. Like, I don't know what to say. Like, he can really, really, really sing. And yeah, I don't know. Like I was actually quite hearing something live. You get sort of the bass notes, and you know how it reverberates in your chest just so much more. And so the percussion really stood out in the live performance, and it's something that, although I'm familiar with and love, I thought were really, really special, and it sort of really elevated the track. Like, I love my metals, I love my heavy stuff, and so usually live it's like such a visceral, like physical kind of experience to that stuff. But I
It
didn't
is. It
expect
is
that.
also. I don't know how many strings they use. That was, by the way, something I didn't realize with Green Carnation. They have three guitarists, and they utilize that very cool. Plus the bass guitar. But indeed, it is like when you have these extra strings on that a lot of these bass players have. Yeah, then you really get into the sub. Uh, what do you call it? The subwoofer area.
Territory.
Where
Yeah.
yeah, like where you actually feel it in your gut. I mean, you can of course also have that with keyboards that you reach these lower registers.
They just become much more prevalent, and they sort of dominate the arrangements a little bit more sometimes. And so for me, it was cool that it was a big standout, and that with juxtaposition to, what's his name, Casey. What's his last name? Cruzenzo or something. His vocals were just such a, like a, I don't know, they just partnered really, really well with the whole arrangement. So it was great. He One thing I was interested in um, was that he didn't play like leading performer, like, or at least it didn't come across that way. He sort of sat slightly to the side, and he got up and played, guitar, and sort of sung at one stage too. But he definitely didn't look like he was the sort of centerpiece of the whole arrangement, and that surprised me. I thought he would be the person who'd be talking to the crowd and getting everyone involved, but actually the bass player did. So that was interesting to me. But I'm just so glad they came out. And the best thing about the Deer Hunter stuff is their fans were just like, everyone was singing. Like, everyone was singing, and it didn't matter what the track was, it was audible, just that everyone was so into the music and so behind it. And I think that speaks really loudly of the quality of this band, and just how much their fans love them. And I think that was really cool. So I don't know, it was a really, really good show by them.
That is, of course, a band that is very much focused on vocals, on harmonies, and did they also pull off the harmonies in a?
Yeah, and that surprised me, in that the two backup vocalists, which is your guitarist and the bass player, if I remember correctly, were both just like, it was beautiful. It was really good, and I think in the recordings they use, when they get the lead singer to do a few pieces and they blend them together and stuff to come up with some harmonies. I thought they had done a bit of that before, but obviously on live, they kind of just didn't just pull it off. They did a great job of it, so it was really good. And they still somehow kept that stage. Like, whenever I listen to the Deer Hunter, I always think of like live performances. I can imagine it being played out like a some form of like musical, always. And so it still had that quality, which was really interesting considering it's a band that's playing it. And so that was really cool too. So yeah, look, check them out. If I were you guys, in the background, prioritize seeing them if you get the opportunity, because they're a class act and really, really good.
And I mean, what did they do something with um, that was very performative, except for just playing the music, or?
Look, they weren't big stage presences. You know how some people
Okay.
really sort of work the crowds and they sort of get them
Yeah,
involved. No, they really did just seem like, especially Casey, he really came across as someone who was just in the music. So,
yeah.
and I think that's why maybe the music was so strong. It wasn't so much performative, which was a complete juxtaposition to Closure in Moscow. Like
Yeah.
it was all performative. It was all about like strutting around the stage and like "Wah!" and like doing these things. Whereas the Deer Hunter was the opposite. And I think that the similarity would sort of stop at maybe like the frequency of the voice, like the vocals. Like
Yeah.
they were a really interesting combination where one was yeah, I don't know, like it was just a really solid live performance that I just thought was so genuine, and the musicians seemed like they were really a part of the the orchestra, if you will, as opposed to having somebody who was standing up the front and trying to, really engage with the audience so much as it seemed like it was just them playing and we were privy to that. And I thought that was pretty special.
Yeah, yeah, it can be great in very many different ways. Yeah, and I think that I mean, so what came on the Midwinter Prog after that was Pure Reason Revolution. They performed their album The Dark Third, which is I don't know 10 years old at this
It's
point or
it's
something.
my favorite album by them,
It's
and
yeah, I would say that's also like the album that I've heard most from them, which so that was also a reason, why I went to this, or
yeah,
at least that was attractive with this show.
yeah.
That said, I haven't heard it that many times that I could, name the songs or sing along with them or anything. I just know that, oh yeah, I heard that album, I like it, this will probably be good. And I decided to keep it that way, just to, it can be a bit of a immersive thing just to discover it. They also have a lot of harmonies, singing harmonies, and I mean, there's a lot of focus on there. I mean, compared to many other prog bands, this is kind of not so complex musically. Like it's not so virtuoso. That there's no weird time signature stuff, or like it's very little of that. There's no guitar solo. There's no flashy stuff. It's more subtle
They
here.
also do like they also do so much work on just sort of building a song. So for me, it's not about like chopping and changing and experimental and like delving into different things, but they kind of like build. It's like motive, and then they play, and then they slowly build, and then they slowly build, and so and many of their songs too, they'll have like this, oh, time to change now, and then the song takes on a new life of its own, right? And so I think this is I really love their style, but it's hard to explain them as a progressive act because they are definitely on the careful construction of their music as opposed to, like you said, this virtuosity sort of line. And so I respect them heaps for it. I'm super interested in the harmonies too because the male and female like dual vocalists and stuff that went down well and it was good live, was it?
Uh, yeah, it was good, but indeed, it's very difficult to get them perfect. And I don't. I mean, I will come back to this vocalist thing a lot here, because how it often is here. Like the instrumentalists, they will do it flawless. When we're talking prog, in different ways, there will not be a lot of mistakes. That's like I very rarely come across that. But no, I mean, it was just this little uh, microscopical off that you know, you could hear that it was just a wee bit off.
Right.
Um,
Was this the male vocalist or the female one?
I mean, they all, yeah, when one is singing, it sounds fine, and then when you combine it, you just hear it.
Right, so there's like a
You hear that
pitch.
it's live, if I put it like that.
Okay.
Um, and um, but it was not. Yeah, it was good, but it I would say that it could have been even better. Somehow it kind of fits with this, alternate rock uh, kind of
Yeah.
prog that it is.
Yeah.
Um, uh, and yeah, I mean, good looking band. They're definitely the best looking band of the evening. I mean, this band could make the top 20, top 40. I don't know, whatever. th- they look like they could have the boys look like they could be in a boy band and the girls look like they could be in a girl band, compared to Green Carnation where it's like okay, obviously this is for,
They're
for the people
veterans.
that like this kind of music, but yeah, no, no, it was good. It was good. But I did react a little bit to like, oh yeah, it's difficult to get the vocals just perfect,
Mm.
and I noticed it with Green Carnation. I noticed it with Pure Reason Revolution as well. That said, it's like it's 90% good, you know. Um, Yeah. Not super long set. I mean, they did perform this song. They had an hour, I believe. Um, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, okay. I think look, they're still a band that I would love to see live. Like I feel like I'd like to see them live just to, I don't know, get a good real perspective of what is going on in the music as well. I've listened
It
to
is interesting. Also, like I don't see her on the lineup now, but you have this Dutch girl. Oh yeah, Annika Shireen. Yeah, uh, who's she's singing, but she's also doing the I don't know. She has this little box with like a looks like a Casio, like those little electric pianos or little synthesizers.
Mhm.
But she's not really playing the keys. She's making noise and enhancing it. And I thought like, am I going to mention this? Because I actually don't know what she's doing
Look, if you
with
guys are listening,
uh,
please talk to us about this. I'm gonna have to go Google this as well and look it up myself.
Yeah, I guess she's like working with a sample. Like she made a little noise with the microphone, and then she alters it, and yeah, that was kind of interesting to see what she was doing,
Yeah.
and yeah, really handled that like a professional. But uh, yeah, so that stood out among the normal music stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, okay, cool. So that was my so the Deer Hunter one for me was on the Saturday evening last week, and then I went to see Vola, who came out to Australia on Tuesday. It was a tough one for me to get to, but I got there, and I'm so glad I did too. They were really, really good.
Yeah, yeah.
So Vola had a band from Western Australia do like the support act. They're called Primrose Path. They're okay. I mean, I ended up walking out, not in disgust, but just kind of thought, oh yeah, like they seem okay. I could check out their stuff. Like it's got a strong female vocalist who I think's new to the band. At least she gave me that vibe. But they were delivering it well. She was, heavy lyrics as well, like heavy vocals. So she could scream a bit, belt out some sort of blood curdling sort of screams and stuff. But I sort of ended up walking out and ended up having a chat with a guy who, look, it's weird. He said he was the lead singer of a band called Liquid, and that they had played at oh, who did he say they played with? I can't remember if it was Van Halen, maybe. Like, as in, like he said they were pretty famous. And so I don't know Liquid. I don't know if you guys have heard of Liquid before, but he was such a nice guy. And I looked them up, and it's legit. Like he was the dude, the vocalist from that band. But look, he seemed like a really nice guy, and he was not a fan of Primrose Path, and that's actually what got us like talking in the first place. But we got talking about Vola and pretty excited. So when we headed in, when they sort of started, I was a little bit tentative to kind of say, like, especially after talking about them and what I was looking forward to, like what they would, sort of turn up with, and they turned up. Wow, they were such a they were really good. It was strong. It was a great sound. Guy had obviously like sort of got everything really well. The guy's vocals were a little bit lower than I anticipated. I expected a little bit more sort of lightness, like he does in some of the sort of albums and recordings that he's done in the studio. So sometimes he dropped into like his chest voice at times when I was like, oh, I didn't expect that. But I knew the entire like set list because of our discography rankings we did earlier,
Of course,
and
yeah.
they were really good. They performed them super well. I thought the genty heavy stuff was great. The juxtapositions between sort of the light and sort of darkness, I guess you'd put it, were good. Their timing, again, a little bit like Closure in Moscow as well. Like when they decided to just go quiet and then just sort of drop stuff, they did a great job of that. They did a cool little intro track where they sort of just were playing and then the lights went out and music stopped. And then they picked it back up again and then they did it again. And so they dropped in and out a few times and like deliberately. And I thought that was just really, really well done. They played pretty much like, they played some like a great mix of their tracks from different albums as well. So I was really, really happy to sort of sit there and made it well worth it for the gig midweek and having to really trek to get there. It was a really solid and very memorable performance as well. The key thing that was big though was in the encore they were playing Straight Lines, which is a good choice I think for a final track. But when they came back for the encore and everyone's clapping, they sort of get through the intro and then all of a sudden he goes to sing and the mic's not working. And so he's quickly like taking it apart and trying to put it back in. The rest of the band are playing, and then after that, he ends up running to the bass player's mic, and then he's trying to get that working, but it's too soft, and they can't get the sort of vocal things like happening. So then he runs up the back to the mic that's next to the keyboard, and they sort of he's like trying to pull that out, and then as soon as he was able to get that mic working, the crowd erupted and then all of a sudden the crowd were in it. And so it actually turned out to be this probably a band's worst nightmare. Like to have something going on during the tracks and to have it, but it ended up making the entire show. And not only that, like it got the crowd so heavily involved and invested in what's happening, and it added this like drama aspect that I highly recommend doing this for all those people out there who are watching in the background. You gotta run with it. Like the show must go on. And when he came back in, the vocals are cracking, the crowd's behind it, they're all singing loud, and it's obviously like they're probably the most successful track as well. It was just solid. It was so good, and it was a really really memorable and great way to finish. So, look, I think I would rate that one of the better live shows I've seen. Like it was really really good. I probably preferred the Deer Hunter because of just the like they were really classy. And it's not saying Vola wasn't as well, but there was just an element of the Deer Hunter which I just go, these guys are pros, and Casey's obviously just put so much into his voice, like it was stellar. Whereas this guy's vocals are just good. And he delivered them really well, but there's a difference between like you kind of go, oh shit, he can sing, and then the other guy who's just got a good voice, you know.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
but look, I don't think
yeah,
Vola could have done a better job. I do not think they could have done too much better a job
yeah.
in that performance, and so because of it, like I just my hats off to them, and I'm just so glad I saw them. I'm just so glad I saw them. So yeah,
You touch on a lot of points here which are relevant for the next band
oh yeah,
that I saw. So Gazpacho, um, which is like I always like when I hear Gazpacho, I even though I have not spent too much time with that band either, but I always think a little bit about Radiohead. Like
oh yeah.
I think they sound a lot like Radiohead, or at least what I've heard from Radiohead. And um, also, there's no flashy stuff. You know, it's you don't have any exuberant, I don't know, synchronized guitar and keyboard solo section, or a fusion breakdown or whatever. Um, it's more of the atmosphere, and obviously they do a lot with how the song is arranged, so to speak. Uh, but it's also very digital in a way. So like it's obvious. Actually, they were even like they said they canceled the show twice
Oh
because
really?
apparently their bass player he could not make the flight. There's something like because of ice or whatever on the tracks. He could not get away, so the whole band was in the Netherlands and he was stuck in Norway. And apparently he managed to solve it by recording the bass at home, send the file over somehow, and then but once again, so then it's super obvious that they do it with a pre-recorded track. They even said it like, yeah, we have like this track that is used as a basis. Um, and even though like with their thing, like that is kind of a digital band, and they also do it a lot with like the light show and everything, it kind of fits. But for me, it also takes a little bit away from that live aspect. Like, yes, they also have that it's completely dark, still, silent, and then and yeah, indeed, they time it perfectly, but it's also because they had got in-ear audio, and if they would decide to do anything else, they couldn't, because, they know exactly what the program is going to look like. It's going to take 57 minutes and 30 seconds, and then it's done. And like I also seen some excerpts from Protest the Hero, which is some kind of, I don't know, have you heard them? Like this
I've heard of the band, but I don't know their music very well.
yeah, I mean, it's also very complex, just like I don't know, animals as leaders or something like that. That it's like, yeah, it's just super complex that you think, oh man, this is gonna be a bitch to play live, because you just have to remember everything. And once again, yeah, you pull it off because you have the boop 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 beep boop 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 beep in your ear.
Damn, you did
Um,
that good.
Thanks. Yeah. So, but then I'm also thinking like, well, how enjoyable is that? Like, to of course, we in the audience, we don't have to listen to that, but they have to. And then I'm thinking like, well, I mean, don't you also kind of want to enjoy the moment, to actually listen to what you play without the boop 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 beep,
Your
without the
first one was
metronome
better.
there. Yeah. Well, I mean, so I mean, maybe it's also just the idea that I prefer something without the click track.
Yeah.
And I mean, yes, absolutely, that click track, or sometimes you just have cues with something pre-recorded that makes sure that you will pull off these syncopated stuff, or when the track starts again after like a um, ambient section or whatever. That I thought it was fine that they do that. It also fitted their genre very well, but that's not gonna be my main way of seeing live shows. Like, that's not the main reason I go to see a band live. I just want that organic, organic thing. Like, if their computer is broken, I would still like the band to be able to pull it off. Like, there's been I mean, like Rick Beato, he he's made commented a bunch of this before, because I mean, I think, was it Van Halen, or who was it who like criticized some bands that had to cancel the show because they didn't bring their laptops or whatever. I mean,
Right.
lots of new bands do this. Like, they can't pull it off if they don't have their laptops. And I mean, I guess maybe that's just roll with the times, but I'm having a little bit of a hard time accepting it. Well,
You're an old
enough of
man.
that. Yeah, probably I'm an old man shouting at clouds. But that said, regarding the vocals, uh, it's also not very um, virtuoso, virtuosic.
Sure. We'll
The
just say
the
that.
the vocals are not very showy when it comes to Gazpacho either. But because of that, like, he pulled it off exactly like he should have. Like, he did a flawless performance. So in the way, like, yeah, the vocalists were very good and talented with Green Carnation and Pure Reason Revolution as well. It's just that they kind of went for the more flashy vocal lines, so you could hear that they, cannot really quite pull it off on the record. I don't know if the Gazpacho vocalist is a better vocalist, but because he did a little less adventurous, does a
Yep.
little less adventurous stuff, then he pulls it off just like you're supposed to do.
Yeah.
So, you know,
Yeah, he sings within his means nearly, like,
yeah,
and
yeah,
so
exactly.
when he constructed the album or constructed it, he's like, here's my range, here's where I
Yeah,
go to, and I'm
yeah.
gonna nail it every time. So
Whereas the other ones are like, okay, here's where I go to. We're gonna put it exactly here. So, so that's gonna be a bitch to pull off live, when we have to hit that high C note or whatever.
mm.
Yeah,
I think
yeah,
I think that's really interesting because for me, I don't need virtuosity to be like a great live show. For me, I want something that's got this feeling of just like tight, it's perfect, it's or perfect doesn't even need to happen, but just something that sort of creates a story that becomes memorable that I emotionally buy into. And so for me, I'm more inclined towards prog that's not got the super virtuoso stuff because I enjoy that. So, and I know you share similarities there as well, of course, and it's kind of like a scale. But it's funny because I find myself gravitating towards your Furies and Revolutions and also your Gazpacho kind of prog music more than what I'm about to talk to in a second. Should we jump
yeah,
across? So I saw
yeah, yeah.
Dream Theater, like how many hours ago? Exactly 23 hours ago. And
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
so they're pretty fresh now in my head, and I got a chance to see them. And they did this big thing. It was just them that played. It was a big act. It was actually bigger than I expected. It's kind of that small entertainment center kind of a vibe. So they're much bigger than these other bands that I saw. And so I was a little bit surprised because I thought it'd be slightly more intimate. It probably, I would have guessed there was maybe like 8,000 people would be a guess. I don't even know if that would be true, but something like that. It looked pretty packed. You can check out my Instagram for the reels of photos and stuff if people are interested. But in saying it, they were the opposite of what it sounds like Gazpacho was. So they're all about virtuosity, showmanship, like showcasing a skill set. And in those areas, you have to just go, yep, that guitarist can shred. Yep, that bass player can really slap. Yep, Leprous high notes are like wavering, and his wavering vibrato is like on point, and not many
Yeah, yeah,
people can
it did
can
that
can
good. Because I
meet.
mean,
Well, I do
Le,
have. I will definitely talk about him in a
Lebanese,
second. I'll talk
yeah,
about him
yeah,
properly in a second. But at his height, you go, that's a stellar note. You know what I
mm,
mean? And then you've got
okay,
obviously the keyboardist who's like he's spinning around on his big, the movable,
yeah,
keyboard or whatever it
his
is, and he's
guitar,
he's
yeah,
showing he's showing everybody like he's on an inverted like plane so he can show everyone what he's playing, and then he comes back to this
yeah,
level, spins around to
yeah,
face Portnoy. Portnoy has the world's biggest drum kit, like and so everything for these guys is excess, 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 and to me,
big, big, big.
it's fun to watch. It's really interesting to pay attention to, and you can just like fixate on one of them at any given time and really sort of just get I guess like a masterclass in whatever they're doing. However, I just find it pretty disjointed at times, and I also find that like it depends on the track though, and it depends on the music. And for me, there
What
was
was the
quite
set list?
you'd
What
have
did
to.
they play the new album or?
They played the vast majority of their new album in the second section. So
Okay,
they started with a tribute because this is their 40th year anniversary. So
yeah,
because of that, they're playing like all a sort of like a series or sequence of stuff. And
yeah,
then they played what's it called, para whatever it is. Um,
Parasomnia.
yeah, Parasomnia. Then they played that after the intermission in the middle, and then they finished and closed with the soft song.
Octavarium? No?
Yeah. And then after that, they did like a second encore with oh come on, like their song, the one that's based on
The
Hamlet.
Pull Me Under?
Yeah, Pull Me Under. So
Yeah,
they finished
yeah,
with Pull Me Under, right? And so
yeah.
um, but the interesting thing is like Pull Me Under was really good. And the thing is that they're much more. For me, that's where they're the most interesting. that's when sorry, not the most interesting. That's where I enjoy them the most, when they're not the most interesting and when they're just playing a great track, or like
Uh,
they're
uh,
just caught up in that stuff too. So I don't know, like, it was great. Portnoy is a real showman. What he's doing behind the drum kit is just really special. And for no other reason, I'm so happy to have seen them because of his like impact and the way he sort of had a bit of stage presence just for a drummer. But yeah,
yeah,
Labrie. Look, my biggest issue with him is actually everything's the same note.
yeah,
And he just has so little variance. It's like I have this high wavering, like, kind of thing. It's got that perfect vibrato at the end. But what I want to see really is a bit of like depth in the way he sings. It's always the same tone, it's always the same notes, it's always the same things. And the pacing tends to be quite similar as well. And for me, I'd love it if he just draw everyone in and then expand and then shoot up and then come like and just I wish there was more variation in what he does other than just a note that he nails because it to me I start to lose what he's singing about anyway and it just ends up like a perfect wail in the background a bit. And so I think maybe this is a bit harsh like and for those there that are big Dream Theater fans like I'm not even sure if it's always the case in their or whether or not it was just live. He was like this live, but for me, I didn't find him particularly interesting. Now, I would compare him to what's the lead singer of Iron Maiden?
Bruce Dickinson.
Yeah. So his vocals, like if you compared them next to each other, had many similarities. This is a well-honed machine. They can sing. They have this refined, powerful vibrato still. They still have the ability to hit the high notes, which I've seen Guns N' Roses play semi recently, and trust me, Axl can't do that. Like these guys, they are so much better, and they've obviously looked after their throats and voices enough to be able to just hit stuff that you just go, shit, that's really impressive. But, and they're also professionals, and they look like they've been touring for 40 years. Like, that's what they look like. And so, because of it, the show's good. But it's just the breeze, just a bit flat for me. And it's not flat in the middle, it's flat up high.
Yeah, yeah. No, well, look, I mean, I think that you're maybe being generous, or uh, like when I got into Dream Theater over 20 years ago, already then it was like the talk about Labrie being the weakest link of the band. I mean, obviously, when he joined, he was hitting notes like crazy, having this crazy range, and also not only in register, but also in how we could sing soft and emotional and also powerful and have some grit as well. If you listen to the Awake album, for example, but um, and something happened in the end of the 90s where, I mean, sometimes they blame food poisoning. That there was an incident of that, but and it's always difficult to uh, retrace, like, what if. What,
Mm.
maybe it was the food poisoning, but come on, for that leaves a permanent damage on the vocal cords. Yeah, maybe. But so like his voice has been, declining. It's like turning more nasal, and the range is like hitting the wrong notes a lot more, and where it maybe had some kind of a low at a couple of years ago, that it was like on the real low side, where it was like also the stark contrast with someone who barely can hit the notes, with like these four super musician who haven't hit a bad note in 20 years. So then it was like, tough position to be in as a singer, because also, like, yeah, Petrucci can buy a new guitar, but he can't buy in a new vocal cords, and and also with the fact that if you have Bruce Dickinson, who's like this major stage presence, Labrie doesn't quite have that, which also I always think, but maybe it's because he's not in a position to really. You know, if every if
Contribute like the others do. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, if a bunch of because Dream Theater fans are like the biggest haters, you know, so they are standing like they're judging because they're also all of them are musicians, you know, so then you know I would imagine that okay, poof, I would maybe be a little bit uh, you know, a bit careful, like I don't know, I would have a bit of a bad. Um, maybe feel like I have a little bit of a imposter syndrome if I would sing for be it the lead singer of Dream Theater, you know. But that said, he was getting a bit better already when I saw them 2 years ago, and I understand that he now had some vocal coaching, which really has upped his game a lot. So I mean, it that could be yeah.
This could be what
I
I'm
read a
talking
lot that
about.
he
Yeah, that could
yeah
be what,
yeah
because like that's the thing is, as I said, like he was hitting those high notes, and I
mm,
just was
mm,
like, he sounded like a guy who's really worked his that high register really, really like he did, and
yeah.
but the thing is that I'm not familiar enough with their works really. I mean, I've listened to them, but I'm not like I can't sing along to many of the tracks. So the stuff they were playing, I couldn't tell you if he was off. All I
Yeah.
could tell
Yeah.
you is that he sounded flat at a high note, hitting perfect notes that had no variation and that did not
Yeah.
have an emotional sincerity that I kind of really am looking for. There was one or two exceptions, but generally speaking, it was like I
But
can't
that's also the thing.
identify
If you,
how if it's off.
yeah, but I think like my thing with being a a virtuoso is that if you can pull this off, then what you're supposed to pull off, you can you don't have to focus uh on what you're doing. You can just focus on doing it good. You know, like
Yep.
these solos. Petrucci pulls them off in his sleep, so he can really just he can do whatever he wants, and just you have the freedom to do whatever you want because you're such a great musician. And with Labrie, it's like okay, he's gonna struggle to pull it off. Period. You know, it's like the difference of winning a race and just making like winning a marathon or running it within 2 hours or whatever, like a world champion does, or just being able to run the 4,200, 125 meters. Like Labrie is struggling with just running the 4,200 meters. The other guys are busy with winning the
Mm.
race. That is a little bit the difference.
Look, it's
Yeah.
super interesting. It's super interesting. So, what would I rate Dream Theater as a live performance? I thought the show was good. I thought the energy was good. I thought the musicianship was really good. I thought Labrie was the weaker point, but it was still a good show. And the interesting thing is that if it wasn't for their caliber, like if it wasn't for the other members of the band, then I wouldn't have rated the show much good at all. Like I'd put them more in the, you know, Guns N' Roses section of my live show like portfolio. But for these guys, I just go, oh no, that's up there. And I would say because the closest I could probably compare them to is Iron Maiden, and I thought Iron Maiden did better as a band, but clearly aren't as talented. Like they don't have the
Yep.
skill set that's like it's just like Dream Theater
Yeah, 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 for
and the
sure, for
other
sure.
guys. But but this guy's show was super tight and was done really well. You get
Every
what I
band has
mean?
its shtick, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And
So I don't know.
and
Sorry to just to
or at
finish
least
my.
every good band has its shtick. Like Gazpacho is great in a completely different way. Uh, that
And
doesn't
this
mean
is the
that it's
benefit
worse.
of live music. This is the
Yeah,
benefit of like being able
yeah.
to check it out and to be able to see it as well. So I don't know. Look, like these are the three gigs that I've been to this year, this week. So it's a lot to cram in. So I've
Well,
got some good things there. But and I know you've still got one to go, I think. But I was
yeah.
just going to say that I would rate. I think the most enjoyable experience was definitely the Deer Hunter, and then after the Deer Hunter, I'd probably like have to say VOLA Like, and they were pretty close to each other. They were both fantastic. And then you've kind of got Closure in Moscow, who is definitely not as uh, impressive as Dream Theater was, but they're in a different category. Like I would put Dream Theater in the middle and probably Closure in Moscow underneath those guys.
Yeah.
So
And
who
because
have
of the different qualities within these shows that I mentioned here, I think it's difficult to compare them. I think they were all like equally good, but it's comparing apples and oranges. You know,
yeah.
it's very, very
And I
different.
just I just went
Uh,
based on my enjoyment.
yeah,
That's it.
yeah,
Because that's all you can really do. Because one's
yeah.
like,
But so I also enjoyed them all equally, but in very different ways.
hmm,
But that said, the last act, which
tell me
was
about it.
Leprous,
Yeah,
they were heads and shoulders over the rest.
they're so good live.
Yeah, yeah, because I mean, indeed, they have this. Uh, I mean, they first of all, they come in like superstars. They know they are the prog superstars at the moment. You know, they're or the prog metal superstars at least. You know, they. Yeah, they walk in and they own the place, and they. I mean, they. Um, Einars, he has very goofy. Like the way he moves on stage is super goofy, but it just fits perfectly, right? And
Yeah.
and indeed, this range vocally, like he has those difficult vocal lines, but he pulls them off perfectly. So you get best of both worlds here. You have the instrumental, like they pull it off perfectly. They have a stage show that is very enticing. You know, you really live with it. Uh, Very energetic, and on top of that, they have this, perfect vocalist. I would say, you can't. Yeah, it is what Labrie was on in the studio 25 years ago. Like that's that. Yeah.
I'm sorry. Like I know, I would never put them in the same conversation. I really
I
wouldn't.
mean, I mean, if you listen to images and words, and what he does there, where what Labrie does there, because that's like the top of his game. I mean, Labrie is a shadow and has been for 20 years of what he did in the 90s.
Hmm.
Um, and
Yeah.
today, modern day Labrie, like Labrie at what is he, 55, 60, I don't know. Um, is of course not in the same room as Einar. But who knows what Einar will be when he's 55, 60?
Yeah.
I don't know.
That'll
I
be.
hope he will be able to preserve his vocal skills because it's so much more centered around that with Leprous.
I definitely think it's moved that way. So what did they play? Talk to me about that. Like, what were because in terms of like set lists and stuff, I've seen them play how many times now? I think twice, maybe three times. And then the last show that I went to, they turned up with like as a part of the Coheed in Cambria, Periphery, and a few other bands. Like it was a bit of a show put together, Monuments or whatever it was called, and that
Yep.
was. But nobody knew who they were, so they didn't walk on as rock stars. They walked on in the shadow of like this really popular, like genty, heavy band called Periphery, and people were there kind of going, or maybe it was just before them, but the crowd was there. And as soon as he started singing, everyone was like, "What the fuck is this guy?" They're like, he was high pitch, high register stuff. And then when they just dropped big, it could have been like Sunken Ship or something that they played, or something from Atonement. Anyway, it could have been Atonement itself. But when they dropped it, like the crowd's reaction was just like their jaws hit the ground and there was just silence. And then it just erupted. People were just like, who the fuck are these guys? And so, like, Einar's one of the very few artists that I've ever seen perform where just everyone was just left, like, shocked, gobsmacked, and covered in goosebumps, just saying, like bitches, I do this every day. Like, I can do this any day. And
Yeah, yeah.
everyone was just blown away by it. So Leprous are good live. And you said he was on point too.
Oh, for sure. Like flawless, flawless. Everything was flawless, to be honest. But with their performance. Yeah, so that was a bit funny because I remember when they got announced as a headliner that they would perform. Um, the Melodies of Atonement, that they would do that. Maybe I'm confused here, because at least that was what I was expecting. They opened with Silently Walking Alone, but after that they played shows from or songs from previous records.
Yeah, okay.
But I thought it was a great selection. I mean, their take on me, they also played it live, which was, they really pulled that off.
Yeah, cool.
Alleviate, they played. I thought they played the Cloak, or was it Below, maybe?
Hmm.
Um, yeah, and yeah, it was, yeah, a great selection of songs, I thought. I had to leave to catch the last train before the encore, if they did an encore. So I don't know, but yeah, I was yeah. So
Uh,
the set list was also good. So everything was good with that show. It was definitely like the headliner of it.
had you seen them before live?
No, no, no. All these bands
Ooh.
was the first time I saw.
Yeah, right. Okay, cool. So which one do you think you would have to, if you had a gun put to your head and someone said, "Quick, pick the one that you're going to rate best," what would you pick?
Oh, then it's Leprous. No,
It
like
was
I said,
just
heads and shoulders over the rest. Yeah,
okay.
and the rest was not bad.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Well, look, I'm definitely check them out. I haven't seen the others on your list, which is why I wish I'd lived in Europe sometimes just to be able to see it. But but in saying that, like, yeah, Leprous are unreal. So definitely go check them out live, you guys at home too.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
want to throw it. I wanted to throw it to the audience, mate. I want to find out what their favorite shows have been. So chuck a few comments in below. We'd love to hear from you guys. Who's the best performers you've seen live? And maybe feel free to add to the discussion if you've seen Leprous play and they were shit, or whether or not you've seen Leprous play and they're amazing. Like, please talk to us and to give us a little bit of your feedback. We'd love to hear your comments below too. I know there's a few people chatting with me on Instagram at the moment, but and we're chatting about live acts and stuff at the moment. So we'd love to hear from you guys. In the YouTube world too.
yeah. I got
Next
tickets to
week.
Marillion this fall. That's gonna be interesting as well.
Oh, there's heaps. There's so I've been told that in Australia we've got. I didn't go and see the Tea Party who just played, but they were somebody I wanted to. I was considering checking out. We've got Between the Buried and Me just announced they're playing. We've got Amorphous playing. We've got Carnival. I think are doing another tour. They did like this ad hoc acoustic thing for their new album, which I just didn't have the time to jump in on board with. I'm seeing Catatonia again this year. Um, there's another big name. Who's the other big name? I can't remember. But there's a few anyway that are out there that are coming to Oz right now, and so I'm a little bit like, oh, I'm going to end up very poor. But
Catatonia is not together with Opeth then.
no, no. Opeth played late last year with Caligula's Horse. I don't know if who Catatonia is playing, but somebody bought me tickets for Christmas, so I need to have a look. I wonder who it was. I'm just going to have a very quick look and see if I put anything up to say. Evergrey.
Oh yeah.
So Evergrey are also coming to Australia as well. They're just on a weird day, if I remember correctly. Excuse me. It was May the 1st they're coming. So, and I haven't seen Evergrey play, and I know you're a fan.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And yeah, I've seen them. Yeah, also decades ago, and they were great live. I don't know how they are live anymore, but I mean, I was especially amazed by like the same level of amazement I had with Tom's vocals then, as I had with Einar's vocals now. Like that, it really blew me away with his performance. I can imagine that you know he's older now and maybe have a hard time doing that,
Yeah.
but
We'll
who
find
knows?
out, won't we? So I'll definitely check them out. I also have a friend that's going to go see Paradise Lost as well. So they're going to be playing in October too. So anyway, it looks like it's going to be a fun year for live music, and I can't wait for it. So one of my things was to get to more gigs, and so I guess that's what I'm going to do. Next
Anytime.
week, who have we got? Have we got Jacob Roberge coming to join us?
Yeah,
I
yeah,
think
right.
so.
Yeah,
Yeah. So that's going to be exciting. We're going to be talking about the Deer Hunter, funnily enough, who I just saw live. So we're going to be ranking the acts. So that's going to be great. We're going to be chatting with him. We're going to be talking about his album. I'm very excited about this one, and I know that there's lots of people out there who loved his album last year. So stay tuned for that. Look forward to that one. And if you've made it all the way through to the end of this clip, please like and subscribe. Please do. We really appreciate it if you could. And we'll, I guess, see you guys next week meeting up with Jacob. Yeah,
yeah.
let's do it.
Right.
Anyway, till then, see you guys later. Thanks for joining us and bye for now. Ciao.
Ciao.